Chapter 15. As soon as Theo left the courthouse, reality returned. For a short while, he had been able to forget his problems and lose himself in the wacky world of the spitting llama. Miss Petunia was thrilled. May Finnemore gave him an awkward hug. Most importantly, April was impressed by his courtroom skills. But the fun was suddenly over, and Theo faced nothing but humiliation. He was being falsely accused and stalked and harassed, and now his entire family was being dragged into it. The very thought of a bunch of police officers picking through every room in the Boone home was terrifying. What would the neighbors think? Then Theo had a thought that was so awful that he had to stop his bike and catch his breath. He sat down on an empty bus bench and stared at the asphalt pavement. If someone were mean enough and reckless enough to stash stolen goods in his locker, why wouldn't they do the same thing at this house? The garage doors were usually left open. There was a little storage shed in the rear, and they never locked its door. It would not be too difficult for some creep to sneak around the exterior of their home and find an unnoticed spot to hide a few more tablets or cell phones or even laptops. What if the police found such items, caught again, red-handed? At some point, Theo wondered if his own parents might become suspicious of him. He eventually got on his bike and continued to the office, where he eased through this rear door and found Judge asleep under his desk. He tiptoed down the hall and managed to avoid seeing anyone. Elsie was tidying up her desk and preparing to leave. He was subdued and worried about Theo, and he felt worse after chatting with her. The clock inched closer to 5 p.m. The police were waiting at the curb in front of 886 Mallard Lane, home of Woods and Marcella Boone, and their only child, Theo, who had never lived anywhere else. They were waiting in two unmarked cars, and for this the Boones were thankful. Two police cruisers adorned with all the bells and whistles would have attracted neighbors like a magnet. Theo wheeled in first his bike, with his parents right behind him. Detectives Borman and Hamilton approached from a street and introduced officers Mabe and Jesco, both in plainclothes. They were invited inside where Miss Boone made a pot of coffee and everyone else sat around the kitchen table. While the coffee was brewing, Mr. Boone slowly read the search warrant again and then handed it to Miss Boone, who did the same. "I fail to see why it's necessary to search every room in the house," Mr. Boone said. "It's not necessary," Miss Boone added sharply. Their anger was clear, but under control, for the moment anyway. Hamilton said, "I agree. We don't plan to be here all night. We would like to take a look at Theo's room and maybe a couple others, then the garage, the basement, maybe the attic." "There's nothing in my room," Theo said. He was standing in the doorway, watching and listening. "That's enough, Theo," his father said. "You plan to go through our attic?" Miss Boone asked in disbelief as he poured coffee. "Yes," Hamilton replied. "Good luck. You may not make it out alive." "Do you have any outbuildings?" Foreman asked. "There's a storage shed out back," Mr. Boone said. "What's in it?" "I don't keep a list. The usual stuff. A lawnmower, garden hoses, weed eater, old furniture." "Do you keep it locked?" "Never." Theo blurted again. "There's nothing in the attic and nothing in the storage shed. You're wasting your time because you have the wrong suspect." The 6 adults stared at him, and then his father said, "Okay, Theo, that's enough." "Well, I agree with Theo," his mother said. "This is a waste of time and effort. The longer you suspect Theo, the longer it will take to find the real criminal." "We're just doing our investigation," Hamilton said. "It's our job." Theo's room was in surprisingly good shape. His parents gave demerits for an unmade bed, or clothes on the floor, or books off the shelves. Demerits translated into a reduction in his weekly allowance. So, to Theo, some serious cash was on the line if he didn't tidy things up. It was agreed that Miss Boone would stay with the officers in the room and monitor the search. A 10-minute inspection revealed nothing, and the search party moved to the guest bedroom and its closets, then to the den. With Miss Boone watching every move, the officers carefully looked into the cabinets and shelves. They gently touched every item in the coat closet. They almost tiptoed through the house, as if they were afraid they might break something. After they left the den, Theo and his father turned on the television and watched the local news. Theo tried to appear relaxed, but he could think of nothing but the storage shed and how easy it would be to hide the loot out there. His stomach ached and he wanted to lie down, but he tried gamely to look nonchalant. What if he had heard them yell, "We found it," or "Here it is"? His life would be over. Miss Boone led them to the basement where they searched the laundry room, a game room, and a utility room. Nothing. She led them to the attic, cramped and stuffed with boxes with typical useless junk that would eventually be thrown away. "Does Theo come up here often?" Hamilton asked Miss Boone. "Only when he hides stolen goods," she replied. Hamilton vowed to ask no more questions. It took almost an hour to open all the cardboard boxes and storage bins. Finding nothing, they moved to the garage and searched another utility and room and a large closet housing the heating and air conditioning units. While they were out of the house, Theo asked his father, "Can I go to my room, Dad?" "Sure." As Theo was leaving the den, his father said, "Theo, your mother and I believe you 100%. Do you understand this?" "I do. Thanks, Dad." Upstairs, Theo stretched out on his bed and patted the spot next to him. Judge was waiting for the signal and hopped up onto bed. A no-no in the eyes of Miss Boone. But the door was locked and Theo was safe from the world. For a moment, anyway. He heard a noise from the backyard and knew the search party was poking around the storage shed. He waited, tried to relax, and tried to shake the feeling that his room had just been invaded by the police. Minutes passed and there were no excited noises from outside. Nothing unusual was found in the storage shed, and after 2 hours, the search ended. The police thanked Mr. and Mrs. Boone for their cooperation, as if they had a choice, and left Mallard Lane. Miss Boone knocked on Theo's door, and he opened it. "They're gone," she said as she hugged him. "Are you okay?" "No, not really." "Neither am I. Look, Theo, I'm a pretty good lawyer, so is your father. We are determined to protect you and make sure nothing bad happens, okay? The detectives are good men who are just doing their jobs. They will eventually find the truth, and this nightmare will be over. I promise you there will be a happy ending. If you say so, Mom. Your father has a great idea. Since you don't have school tomorrow, let's go to Santos and get a pizza." Theo managed to smile. As they were driving away, Theo, from the back seat, asked, "Say, have you guys ever heard of spitting llama?" "No," his parents replied in unison. "Have I got a story for you?" And that's the end of chapter 15.